Welcome to Open Tech Talks.tv. Today, I have a guest speaker with me, Bill Kasko, the founder of the Resource Talent Group. Welcome, Bill, to the Open Tech Talk.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. For audience, if they want to know about who's Bill, where he's based, so maybe we can give you some intro.
Yeah, so Frontline Source Group, we are headquartered in Dallas, Texas, but we have a nationwide footprint and operate in all states across the country. We've been in business for 21 years. Started off as an IT specific staffing agency, executive search firm. And over 21 years, we've grown into multiple different verticals from the professional staffing side and executive search. And so very, very happy to be here today and definitely like to stay on the cutting edge of everything that's taking place. And so that's what we pride ourselves in for the last 21 years.
All right. So let's start then what is going on in the field of AI. All right. With the last 2 years, every investment is going into generative AI. So how you must be getting the same requirement from talent point of view from different, maybe your organizations, your customer. So how you are coping that talent required, which there are no formal university programs are available and it's just everything just started, right? So how you're meeting those requirement from customers that we need a trained, we need a certified, we need knowing every person should know about 5 years of experience in AI.
You know, it's been very interesting because part of this has been just the transitional change with technology. So
Right.
the beauty for me is that I'm a technology guy at the beginning that somehow got into this placing people in position role. So I understand the technology, but the difference here is that technology in the way that we would adapt and change over the years is not the same as it was back then. You know, when a new technology platform rolled out, we had 18 to 36 months to kind of learn the product, understand what's going on, adapt. Here we go. Today, we're lucky if we have 18 to 36 minutes, it seems, because it's changing so quick around us. But not only that, we've advanced so much that the idea of what you want is conceptually, you think about it, and then it's like it's produced. And so for companies, along with the talent that's out there, trying to stay ahead of what's happening, it's really only half the battle, because the other part of it is really thinking and looking at things to say, how can we do things different? What is something that's different? Where do I live within this ecosystem? And then also for the companies and especially the HR departments, it's really the question of how do they survive? What are they doing? And how do they figure out what do we do? And so, you know, if you think back even a year ago, year and a half ago, when we first, I call it being first really integrated with Chat GBT and the experience of that. Although we know a lot of this has been around for a lot longer and many of us were already using it in different ways. We just weren't calling it that. And then we went through the phase of everybody testing it and worried and, oh my gosh, can they tell if it's real or not real? And then you start thinking about it more and you're like, wait a second, who cares? What's the difference?
Mhm.
And, you know, it's funny because if you go back, and I tell this story a lot, I go back to when I was growing up and as a kid, that our father brought home our first microwave oven. And the
Right.
microwave oven took 4 of us to carry it into the house. And the whole idea was, well, you know, guys, in a few years, we won't have cooks anymore because all we're going to use are microwave ovens. Well, that didn't happen. What happened was the microwave oven got smaller and then we were able to have more microwave ovens. So, you know, you go to an IHOP or a Denny's and yeah, they got more of them, but they still have cooks. And it's kind of the same thing with the AI piece of it. It's really an understanding of where and how does it play into everything. And then how are we going to take it and embrace it to utilize it to make us all better?
Okay. But must be you're getting challenges while hunting for a new talent, trained talent, or is it okay that there are availability?
Well, I think that, you know, a company is not going out there and saying, I'm looking for an AI developer,
Hmm.
right? Because what they're finding is that, especially from the IT side, they're either a higher level language programmer or they're looking for the people who can come in to understand how the agents are set up and how to go into program and create agents. So there's a different look on this. That individual that we used to have to hire to come in who was a C# programmer, that's not the same here anymore because the ability to train and to build a product is now almost as easy as having that ability to go into whatever platform you're going to Claude, let's say, or something, and start telling it what you want it to develop. That doesn't take someone with a college degree from MIT to come in here and do this. You've got like 16-year-olds doing this stuff. And so they're creating different products. And so instead of having just one platform, we have like every idea coming out. And so the distraction is to understand, well, I don't want to have five different things doing this. I want one. And
Mhm.
then how can I have the one integrate? Because I've just spent millions on this
Mhm.
back end product, but
Mhm.
it's not necessarily talking yet to this. Look, now it can integrate in with it. And now I have these AI agents living in my product.
Right.
All right. Well, then companies are like, do I want that? And so we've also seen a lot of disinformation come from AI.
Yep.
And so when you start seeing information that's not true, and I don't care what they're saying, even when they say it's true and they've fixed it and they can verify it, you still are having to go in as a human, look
Mhm.
at it, evaluate, double check it. So then you have companies saying, is it really saving us time, effort, and money at the end of the day? And I think that's what we've been through, especially over the last 12 months, has been more of an evaluation to figure out
Right.
where does it play? Because does it make us more efficient? Well, 100%. There's no doubt about that. Is it
Mhm.
the end all? Not necessarily.
Okay. Now, maybe for our listeners, if you can share any traits or characteristics which nowadays, with last 2 years, you want to see in the talent or whoever the candidates are. It can be a recipe for them if they are looking forward for any change or any new jobs.
What's interesting about that is it really hasn't changed. So that's the same idea. If you think, which is interesting because history kind of repeats itself, right?
Hmm.
And so when we are thinking about making a career change or making a job change, and we sit down with someone and we're talking about our skill set and what we do best,
Right.
we revert back to the ROI kind of statement. And we go back to what we've done different, how we added value, and how do we forward think on ideas and thoughts. And so it's the same thing, it's just a little different. So it goes back to saying, hey, how I've been training on it, what I've been reading on. Maybe I wrote a white paper about it. Maybe I've
Hmm.
created some AI agents. Maybe I've
Hmm.
done some things to add the value. I think one of the big things that keeps coming up is that we've seen this change within hiring, no matter what the vertical may be. And technology is probably one of the more advanced, but it has to do with people that in the past, when they looked at your background and said, you were only at a company for 3 to 4 years. I'm really looking for someone who was there 7 to 10 years. And that's changed. And part of that change is that knowledge base that we gather from going into a company. And when you go to a new company, you're looking to make a change, there's a lot of value to be brought up about the different environments, the different verticals that you've worked in, the different areas and exposure that you've had because you add value. Do you want to hire a person who was at one company for 10 years and they were doing the exact same thing from a technology standpoint and their bandwidth of knowledge really wasn't expanding or growing? Or do you want to hire that person who's worked at three different companies in the 10 years? They've seen different projects either succeed or even fail to then go to another company and add value to say, here's what I experienced when I tried to do this. Here's what worked or what didn't work. Here's where I can add value when I have exposure that others don't. That intellectual property between companies doesn't flow like that. It's not a free
Mm.
flowing thing. Microsoft doesn't call up Oracle and go, hey, look how we screwed up. That's not what happens. What happens is that individual leaves Microsoft and goes to Oracle and says, hey, I've been in this environment before. This doesn't work. Here are the reasons why. And so that's how that knowledge transfer takes place. So when they're looking to hire new talent, they're looking for those projects, exposure, experience of what that individual has been involved in to add value to a team. Making sure that you're as long as you can talk about it, having that out there, or experiences that you've been through, or products that you've built, or again, explaining projects you've been on. And even if it's failed, it's
Right.
okay. Because as long as you can explain why and how you gathered some positive outcome from it, that adds value to any company looking at upgrading their talent and looking at things differently than they used to look at.
Okay. So another important thing I was reading about your process, which is maybe I'm saying you can tell us a story behind this people process service approach, which you brought it to fix the talent problems. If you can give us overview about that.
Yeah. So the idea behind that whole thing was that when we started looking at evaluating after 21 years in business,
Hmm.
what was really behind that? And so we knew that, any organization, great people make a difference. And so we knew that there was really this pillar of what everything started around having and hiring great people. And then we really evaluated and looked at these successful companies and how they operated. And part of that really had to do with that process. And what was your process of hiring, your process of building teams or groups? And then realize that was really an important pillar. And then obviously, from a business standpoint, the service level, the service that you're providing to your customer and your client at the end of the day, we had to be outstanding. And so, because our customers always had some type of a service level, it went back to that as well. But what was interesting is that once we identified the fundamentals of what we were building a company around, we kind of backed into it and realized that we live and operate in the same way as people. And it
Mm.
was something that correlated that as individuals, and when you're growing up or working and have friends or family, you surround yourself with these people that you want to be with and you want to improve or grow. The people around you, that's really what influenced you as you went forward and made a difference. And then as we looked at a process, the process was interesting because the way that you grow, that you advance in your career, maybe you grow a family. There was something about how you raised your kids or grew,
Right.
and that became an important part of that process. And then the service was important because it was, what did you do? How did you do things different? What did you give back to the community, to your church, your religion, or to your family, or what was surrounding that? And so it was interesting to really look at the correlation between your personal life and your business life, or the way that companies are operated, actually have direct reflections on the two of them. And when you understand and you're able to identify a weakness in your life, it
Hmm.
goes back to one of those three pillars and allows you to really fix or evaluate. And maybe sometimes you need new friends. Maybe sometimes you
Mm.
have to look at your processes changed, or maybe you're not giving the right service back. And so it was a really interesting
Hmm.
way for us to look at. And so we built the company around that, only to identify that we actually live our lives and we just don't realize it.
Okay. So now maybe another similar to that question. So if talent now comes from networks, not pools, which we're talking about, then how should leaders change their hiring playbook?
Well, I mean, I think it's both from leaders as well as people that are looking, right? And so, I think one of the most unusual things that kind of came out, if you want to call it a social media and networking, is really LinkedIn. And if you look at the LinkedIn product from 20 years ago, right? And you look at it today, I don't know that anyone would have expected LinkedIn to have succeeded and been at the point it's at today. And so when Facebook came out, if you go back, maybe, I don't know, MySpace, maybe, and you look at it and you think it all came out and it was going to crush everything else. And this was going to be, and LinkedIn didn't change. It stayed on path to stay as this business networking ability. And we were able to separate our lives between the personal side and the LinkedIn side. And even on LinkedIn, We find that sometimes people kind of sneak in and they talk about personal things, but it's not the same as like a Facebook. It's the place where, as long as the CEO of a company wants to see where the CEO of another company is, it's always been open. The ports have been open. We've never been shut down. But it gives you an ability to not only network, especially in a world today that's changed, but it also allows you to have gain knowledge, enter into different groups from a technology standpoint, but maybe even it could be from accounting, it could be from energy, it could be different groups of subject matter experts that gather together still with the same type of a cause and a business standpoint that, you can still network with people to understand and to learn and to share information that's really grown into such a successful platform, not only for that, but also when it's time to look for a new career or to find out something new that's going on, the ability to share from a free ability to still have that where your peers and friends are still there.
Okay. So, is there any patterns are emerging between hybrid, remote after the COVID-19, and now the company started asking the employees to come back? So, what do you see? Is it office work coming back full time, or is still
Well, I mean, from an IT look, IT has been pushing back on in office for forever, right?
hmm
That's not something new. As soon as there was an ability to log in and to get into a server remote, I mean, that's always been the desire. At the end of the day, it's about companies with a lot of office space. And I think that what we're going to see, and look, I'll be honest, I've always been an in-office guy. And after COVID, I changed. And then you realize, man, you can get a lot done if you have the right people doing the right thing. We're always going to have people that are going to try to break the rules. They're going to push the envelope. They're going to try to screw it up for everybody else. That's just always going to happen. But I think what we're seeing more is that right now the push to go back to office was twofold. Number one, there was this cultural piece
right?
that companies really needed to bring people together. We also have, I call a 3 to 4 year, maybe even 5 year gap of where these individuals got out of college and they never went to work in an office. That's been a learning experience. The big thing is that we have a lot of commercial property, a lot of high rises, a lot of expensive footprints that are everywhere that need to be put into something to get people into the
Mhm.
office space to justify what we have. So the question is, how do we do this, right? Okay. My belief is that number one, we have a housing shortage in this world, period. And I think over time, we will start to see the transition as it's already started of the high rises and the buildings being transitioned into multi use and more transitioning into housing that will take place. And so it just can't happen overnight. If it happened overnight, we would have complete, utter financial disaster. Uh, and that's just all there is to it. I will you still have companies that want people in office 100%. Will they still want to bring yeah, absolutely. But they've already done the change. They've already started the change of co-sharing, the ability to dock, tele-remote, you know, 1 day in the office, 2 days in.
Mhm.
I mean, it'll just start happening. And when you look at a lot of the major cities with just parking cost, it just doesn't make sense. And so
Mhm.
it makes more sense for them to figure out how can they do this, look at different models. It's already happening in other parts of the country. I think the United States is just behind in the curve. And so it's a transition. It also is a cultural change.
Mhm.
It just takes time. We've
Okay.
never been big on flipping a switch and changing overnight.
Okay. So now you must be interviewing so many candidates, right? By yourself. So what are the three qualities you target while you interview any candidate?
So, interviewing today is a lot different than it used to be,
Mhm.
obviously. And one of the biggest thing of all, of everything there is, which I think everybody will be able to relate to, is that your actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
And so if I have an interview set with you and it's at 11 a.m. in the morning, and at 11 a.m. it's on a video call and you're still not there, and at 11:05 you're still not there, and at 11:10 you roll in and you're in a dirty t-shirt and you look like you just rolled out of bed, what does that tell me? I mean, why would I want to do anything? Why I wouldn't? Because you're representing my client. You're representing us. And so I'm out. I'm done. And the client and the employer feels the same way, that if you don't come prepared and you're not following through on what you do, then you're probably going to do that to me down the road. If
Mm,
you tell me I'm going to send you something and you don't do it, tells you're probably going to do it to me again. It's like a
mm,
bad relationship, right?
mhm,
It's if this happens once, it's going
mhm,
to happen again. And when you're
mhm,
burned by that, you don't take risks,
mm,
and that's the sad part. We actually had someone this morning who at the last minute decided to cancel an interview with the client. They've already been through 3 interviews with us,
mhm,
reached out to them, and luckily we did this morning, just telling them good luck. And they came back and said, it's just too far for me. After they knew how far it was in office, great opportunity. They were 100% in. And
right.
so you go through all of that. And luckily they told us, because 9 times out of 10, they don't even tell us. They just don't
They don't.
show.
It's true.
And so the market's changed. The
Mhm,
market in certain areas, certain demands have been driven by the employer, and it was not driven by the individual looking for work. We saw a flip flop during the great
mhm,
resignation. The
mhm,
candidate, the individual looking for work, had the upper hand,
mhm,
but the employers got burned so bad that as soon as we had a little bit of a downturn,
mhm,
they took the upper hand. And right now the
mhm,
employer has the upper hand. So
mhm,
not doing your homework, not following information, not taking a look at their website. I mean, I'm blown away that it's 2025 and people go to an interview and they'll ask them a simple question like, "So tell me where our headquarters is located." And they can't answer that question. Just basic, they haven't done their homework.
mhm.
They'll be out. And
True.
so it's like, if you're gonna show up and then follow
Wow.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. Any AI is being used or planning to use for the early screening of the candidates or CVs or anything you or your organization is practicing,
We do. We've been on the AI side since it was like, call it beta if you want to. Okay.
right?
So we did a first round beta with a actual AI recruiter. I think it was about 2.5, almost 3 years ago. It was the first version of it. And it wasn't a good experience. Let me just tell you that. And our recruiters weren't excited about it, but this AI recruiter was able to make the phone calls, was able to write back into our CRM system, was able to have a conversation with individuals, but it just wasn't there. And so we did it for about 6 months and we just decided it wasn't ready. And so we utilized AI more from reading, scraping, pulling data, consolidating, and then just recently relaunched another version of the AI tool, a new AI recruiter, much, much better, not doing exactly what we want, but the conversations are much better. In fact, I listened to a conversation a few weeks ago where I call her she because we call her Joy. I was having the conversation and the individual asked a question, and it was a long tail, about five or six questions in one sentence. And Joy was able to answer all of those questions perfectly. And I even made the comment, I couldn't have done that. I mean, it was really a great answer. But we're still seeing some problems, and we're actually looking at, again, this is the same issue that everybody else has. Now I got a new one that's out who operates a little better, is writing things a little better, will actually go out to source, to search, to find. And so I just, it's a lot of new shiny squirrels every day. And that is a problem also, is which one's the best. And there's just a lot of change, but we absolutely are on that cutting edge group to try. We're trying to stay ahead.
True. Yeah, this is one of the common use case which we are also observing with the customers who want to have on the recruitment side with the avatar and all clone, digital clone and all that to do in first level interview screening with the, yeah, that's true. It's just going on the top list of the use cases.
That's right.
Right. So maybe before we conclude for today, so a couple of questions on the side of, I mean, you spent like whole 21 years in Frontline Resource Source Group, right? So what core truth, like a building a successful business or organization, what is your core wisdom you can say, or the strength, or maybe whatever you name it?
Yeah. So during the Great Recession in 2008, we came up with our call it motto or what we stood for, right? Our belief was that we said everything started here. And here was it was interesting because we almost, that was a total meltdown of the entire credit system and everything. It was horrible. And we said it stood for honesty, ethics, respect, and an entrepreneurial spirit. And we thought that was it. That really was what we stood for. And then really before COVID, which was interesting that we came up with it before, one of our vice presidents who had been with us for 10 years and unfortunately passed away right before COVID said we were missing C. It should be cheer. And the C was communication. And, it goes back to those three pillars also, because it really came into play that when you had a foundation that you built everything around, and even today, the industry is kind of under attack. Hiring, it's under attack. I mean, we're having to battle a shortage of the skilled worker, figuring out how does technology play into it, figuring out how does our government play into it, figuring out tariffs. I mean, it's a unusual time for sure, but it goes back to having that honest communication, being honest every time, both with our candidate looking for work and the employer, at the ethics, being ethical in the way that we operate, having that respect, that mutual respect for individuals, and always being entrepreneurial to be able to look at new ways to do things and to be quick as you can to make change. And that's the foundation of what we really built everything that focuses around.
Okay. So maybe as a concluding remarks, if someone is listening to us and he wanted to reach out to you, so what should be the right medium to?
Well, obviously we would 100% appreciate they come and visit our website. So it's just the name of our company. So just frontlinesourcegroup.com. It's the easiest place to go. We post a lot of articles and blogs that we write every week talking about, you know, how to find new careers, what's going on, the differentiator, people looking for new jobs and careers, not something they do every day. And so we push a lot of information out there to help everyone. And we know that we can't help everyone. That's the other part of it. We publish and push new positions and opportunities, but honestly, we don't put everything there. And so because of technology and the way that we do things, the big thing for us is to get into our database system to make sure you're in there. That's where our AI agents do live, the way that we communicate through automation to make sure that we respect your time. The other big thing for us is LinkedIn. And so go to LinkedIn, look up Frontline Source Group, follow us on our LinkedIn page. I think we have about 48,000 followers, or we're pretty close
Mhm.
to it right now. Become a follower. That's where the recruiters push information. That's where they're first. I mean, anything they're working on is there first, but also our positions are there, what's happening, trends, ideas, white papers, things that we do. And then, if you want to connect with me, connect and send me a link. Tell me that you listen to this. I would appreciate that. I'll definitely connect with you. And then all the other social media that's out there, we're everywhere. It's not possible for you not to find us. That's what I tell people all the time,
Okay.
because that's the key. The key is to make sure that we have as much information out and as much ability for people to connect. And then if you're not a good fit, maybe you know someone, share that with them, invite them, and please spread the word. But yeah, frontlinesourcegroup.com, best place by.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Appreciate it very much.